How loud do we think this fan is gonna be? I'm hoping it's just gonna be like soothing white noise. Yeah. Hello everyone. Ooh, my voice sounds, I don't know if you can hear that on camera. If you've ever spoken through a fan, it makes a weird vibrating sound that's kind of satisfying, but a bit weird. I'm gonna just carry on like this and hope that you can't hear it and hope that it's not distracting. But hello everyone. Oh no, I don't like it. I don't know, I'm gonna have to move the fan. Hello. I think that's better. Hello everyone, I hope you are good. If you couldn't tell, at the time of filming this, it is incredibly noisy and incredibly warm here in the UK. It's like 30 degrees outside and my flat is like a stuffy little attic, so I'm just pointing fans at myself, at plants, at dogs, and just trying to stay as cool as we possibly can. But today we are focusing on a genus of plants that absolutely loves this heat because it's a tropical plant and grows brilliantly in warmer conditions. It is the Alocasia. And this is a video that I've really wanted to make for a while, and I don't know why it's just kind of fallen down my list. So I'm very excited to be making it today. I've brought over 10 of my top favorite Alocasias, and I've done something that I don't usually do. I've actually ranked them from worst to best. So yeah, I'm going to take you through all of them. I'm going to tell you a bit about them, tell you why I love them so much or don't love them so much, and yeah, just do a bit of a show and tell. But first, if you're new here, I can hear the fan again, it sounds weird. If you're new here, hi, my name's Claire and this is Yoli. I make videos all about houseplant care, sharing tips and tricks I've learned over the years to help keep your plants happy and healthy. And yeah, as I say, I very rarely put my plants in an order when I show you them. I tend to just show you them in a random order. So hopefully this video will just get better and better as it goes through. So yes, I hope you enjoy it. Let's get into it. So before I get into showing you all of the Alocasias, I have done various like individual breakdowns on the different types of Alocasia because all of them have slightly different care needs. But as I say, just kind of like a general consensus for all Alocasias is that they do prefer slightly warmer temperatures. Typically between about 20 and 30 degrees Celsius is ideal. Typically they absolutely love humidity as well, and they do prefer to remain consistently moist, their soil. That is, if you are growing them in soil. I'm not actually growing all of mine in soil, and I will take you through those ones when we get to them. One important thing to say as well is that Alocasias as a genus are toxic and they can also be very irritating, and I will speak more about that as we get onto the first plant. But also just a fun Alocasia fact, because this is something I literally only found out the other day and never knew before. Apparently the fairy tale Jack and the Beanstalk was actually originally based on an Alocasia. It was inspired by the size of an Alocasia because they can grow to be absolutely huge. Yeah, that is something that I never knew and I found it quite fun. But number 10 on this list is the Alocasia Portadora, and the reason that I'm bringing this one over is because if you've watched my other videos, you'll know I do have a massive Alocasia Portadora that's leaves are like that, but it is a plant. And it is in fact just a type of Alocasia that is so ridiculously susceptible to pests. And this is why, for me, it is number 10 on the list. It is kind of at the bottom of this group. I think visually it's stunning. I think it is such a beautiful, beautiful Alocasia. It's also known as the upright elephant ear because it's got these, I mean, these huge leaves that literally look like elephant ears. And I'm looking at my one now, my big one, and it's over on the balcony outside at the moment because it had, oh my God, it had thrips, it had spider mites, it had mealybugs, and I have done everything. Like, bearing in mind, I'm quite used to dealing with pests in my collection. The Alocasia Portadora is in a league of its own. So this one, this lovely little one, is a baby of my big mother plant. And this one's doing very well and has remained pest-free primarily because it is just living in a prop box at the moment. I've just got it in this little cup. I put it in there as a corm and it has just sprouted in there. And yeah, it has had literally no contact with the outside world. So I do find it a fairly hardy alocasia to grow. I don't find it difficult per se, and if you were just kind of starting to get into alocasias and you wanted something a little bit easier to grow, I would 100% recommend this one. But as I say, unless you are very prepared to do a lot of pest checking and a lot of pest treating, it's probably not one that I would recommend. If maybe, because you know what, and I have been asked this before, because this is one of my, or the mother plant is one of my oldest plants. I've had it for about 6 or 7 years now. And I have been asked before whether or not I used to, like, if I've always had this problem with the Alocasia Portadora. And back in the day, like when I first got it, I don't remember it being a massive issue. So I think maybe it's just having a big collection and having everything quite squished together, that if you own a plant that is already very susceptible and attracts pests, if there are pests kind of in the vicinity, they will flock to that plant. Maybe that's why. So yeah, if you don't have a huge collection, then I would potentially recommend this one. And I will put some clips in of my big one so that you can see it, because as I say, it is really, really lovely and it is capable of growing absolutely ginormous. I think at maturity in their natural habitat, or assuming you're able to provide the right conditions, it can grow up to 4 meters tall, which is just crazy. That's like taller than, I don't know, taller than floor to ceiling. I'll put what it is in foot there because I'm awful with stuff like that. But yeah, that's a very big plant. So if you're looking for something that's going to make the space you're in just feel really jungly and lovely, then 100% I would recommend this one. It is also one that sizes up so quickly. Like, I propagated this as a little corm. I think I started the propagation process about 2 months ago, and already, as you can see, its leaves are, they're sizing up very nicely, and they do kind of continue to get bigger and bigger and bigger, assuming you're giving it the right amount of light with every leaf. So if I wanted to grow this one kind of to the size of my mother plant, I would say that's achievable probably within a year or so, which is very fast. But yeah, it's one I've kind of contemplated getting rid of a few times, purely for the fact that it is quite high maintenance in terms of its pest treating requirements. So this is one I'm actually propagating to take to a plant swap at some point, either this year or next year, because I know someone else would absolutely love the plant, but I think for me, God, I'm so sorry, it's so loud today. But for me, in my collection and my home and my kind of space requirements at the moment, it's just not that suited to me. But I'm hanging on to my mother plant for the time being. She's living happily on the balcony, and we will come back to her at some point and see if I can find an efficient way to grow her happily indoors again without pesty issues. And then another one that I've contemplated getting rid of a few times is this one, the Alocasia Green Shield. And it's weird because actually looking at its foliage, I think this is probably, like, just looking at its leaves, I think it's probably one of my favourite alocasias. I think it's just so weird and alien-y and cool. And for that reason, I absolutely love it. And that is honestly the reason why I still have this plant. It is, however, one that has like a, I don't know, it's easier to show you, a bit of a weird growth structure. Like, it's not quite so condensed, it's very leggy and stretched, and this is even growing it in very high lights. Like, the plant does just grow like this. And this one, up until literally a few weeks ago, has again been in a prop box. I've just transitioned it out and I'm transitioning it into life in my cabinet at the moment. And to be honest, I chopped the plant up and I propagated it. It is giving me corms left, right and centre. So I've constantly got little babies of this one going. But I chopped this one right back, I think about maybe 2 or 3 months ago now, because it had pests, and I was like, you know what, chop it back, restart it. I often do that with plants and it's just an easier way of going about things. I put it into this prop box, and when I went to look in the prop box the other day, I was like, oh my God, it's growing beautifully. And I was like, I don't want to part with it. So I've put it on the bottom level of my cabinet. Firstly, because I feel like it kind of replicates the conditions it was getting in the propagation bin, but also it just allows me to kind of have something beautiful to look at on the bottom level, because my cabinet I felt was getting a little bit, I was going to say grey. That's not the best way of thinking of it. It was like, I don't know, I didn't have anything that felt really vibrant in there. I had a lot of Hoyas and like things like the Hoya caudata Sumatra and things that look quite prehistoric and just not as like fresh and I don't know, I just wanted to put this plant in there. And already it is starting to give me a new leaf, and this has only started pushing out in the last couple of days, so that's really good that the plant's responding so well to life in the cabinet. It was in the cabinet at one point before as well, and yeah, like it's lovely. It's lovely for how it is if you can accept the plant as just looking like this. I don't think I've ever got it past the stage of having 4 leaves. Like it's one that really cycles. I know lots of alocasias do this, but typically you are able to kind of get them out of the cycling stage, assuming you adapt to their conditions, you raise the humidity, you raise the light. As I say, this one for me, I don't think has ever had any more than 4 leaves at one time. So even with this lovely little one coming up here, I'm kind of thinking this one might die back. I'm not sure, I don't know. So I am, as I say, propagating lots of the corms, and I think what I'll probably do, assuming I do decide to keep this plant in my collection, is at some point I'll probably pot loads of them up together and get it looking a little bit fuller that way. Because yeah, it's a little bit straggly by itself. But nonetheless, as I say, foliage, it gets a 10 out of 10 because it is just so beautiful. I love that dark veination, and I love how it's kind of like, I don't know, it's not really harsh veination, it's kind of a little bit blurred. It is a really beautiful one, but yeah, it's just one that's cycled like crazy, given me a bit of grief, and I have considered parting with, so that is why it is in 9th place on this list. And then this next one is also giving me a new leaf at the moment, which is very exciting, and it is the Alocasia Regal Shield, and this one is such a dark, dramatic, beautiful alocasia. And this is another one very similar to the first one I showed you, the Alocasia Portadora, that sizes up so quickly. I got this one just over a year ago as a teeny tiny plant, like it was smaller than that. It was so tiny, and it only had 2 leaves at the time. And although it has cycled quite a lot, as it's cycled, each new leaf has just become bigger and bigger and bigger. And to be honest, I think, so firstly, I think this plant needs a little bit of attention. Yeah, I'll talk you through that first actually. So I'm growing it in this old coffee jar, and I'm growing it in semi-hydro in pon. And I can firstly see through all the gunk that there is some new growth, like there's a corm in there that's obviously trying to sprout. But also I think because I've used a very fine semi-hydro mix, and this is a transparent container that's been very close to the window, algae has just built up so much in there to the point that it looks very green and almost black in some places. So I can see some healthy roots in there, but I think I do need to get it out as a matter of urgency and just have a look at the roots to make sure it's all right. All of the foliage would suggest it's okay. But yeah, it just doesn't look ideal. So I think this plant's doing amazingly for me, but honestly, I think it could be doing better and sizing up faster. Hello.
Sorry, YouTube.
What did you just say?
Regal, your hair blowing in the wind.
This is a Regal Shield.
I knew that, obviously, that's why I said it.
I know. Telepathy. I do apologise, Ross just popped in for a coffee and then my camera died. But what I was saying about the Alocasia Regal Shield is that I personally think that this plant for me could be sizing up faster and actually doing much better if I was to get it into a chunkier mix and out of this container. I think probably into something like a tower pot. I've got several, without giving away the alocasias. Something like that, a system like that, because you can obviously see the roots much better, you can monitor them much better, and still growing the plant in semi-hydro, but in something that is just a little bit like chunkier, like that. I don't know why, I just feel like that would be the best thing for the plant. And in fact, I have been transferring quite a lot of my alocasias out of the fine semi-hydro mix into something a little bit chunkier. And I do just find it helps to prevent things like root rot and just keeps them a little bit happier, just helps with aeration. So that is on my to-do list. But yeah, I mean, it's one, although like I'm constantly fighting this battle of wanting to get my plants to size up and grow as big and as beautiful as possible, but then also not wanting to grow them so big that I have to get rid of some plants because I am in a 1-bedroom flat and obviously a little bit pushed on space. But yeah, it's gorgeous. Like often when I go out to garden centres or houseplant shops, I'll see big Alocasia Regal shields and I'm like, oh, my heart. I'm like, I would just love mine to be like that. So yeah, it's getting there, but maybe not as quickly as it could be if I was to have a mix up. But nonetheless, it's such a beautiful one and I do love it. And I'm really enjoying growing it. So yeah, stay tuned and hopefully in, I don't know, a year or so when I've got a bigger space, she'll be beautiful and lovely and big and she could just fill a room. And then number 7 on the list is a very little Alocasia, but still very beautiful. This is the Alocasia Mellow, and I haven't had this one for that long. I think I got this one, I mean, I know when I got this one, or where I got this one, sorry. I got this at the RHS Festival in Malvern, which I think was a couple of months ago now. I can't remember, but it's given me a couple of new leaves in the time that I've had it. And it's doing well. I thought it would be faster to grow, if I'm being honest. Like when I first got it back to my house, back to my collection, it gave me a new leaf, I think literally within the first week or something. And I was like, oh my God, I thought that maybe there'd be a little bit more stress and like change and acclimation. And no, the plant gave me a new leaf straight away. And then I think I'm right in saying literally like a week or 2 afterwards, it gave me another one. And I was like, oh my God, this plant is so fast. And it hasn't given me anything since then. I mean, it still looks lovely and healthy. But yeah, there hasn't been much to update on. However, this is actually 2 plants. If you look carefully, you can see there's the main body of the plant there. And this here is actually a little sprout from a second corm, so I could absolutely divide this little plant if I wanted to. For the time being, as I say, I'm just trying to get it to kind of size up and fill out a little bit, so I don't think I'm going to do it yet. I also just don't want to mess with it again too soon, but yeah, I'm really, really hoping that it starts to give me some bigger growth because its leaves are just amazing. And it's one that I really do think the camera never does justice to. Like, it's almost like it's been 3D printed. I don't know if you can tell, but like the texture on its leaves is amazing. It feels really cool. It looks amazing. It's got that kind of, I want to say like matte iridescence, which I know doesn't really make much sense, but like it's got almost like a blue tinge to it when it catches the light, but it's not shiny. So yeah, like a weird plasticky plant, but one that I just think is really, really cool. The thing I love about Alocasias is that although looking at them individually, you can see similarities between all of them and you can kind of tell that they're in the same family. You can get so much variety within the species. Like this one is just so different to any other that I own, but at the same time I automatically felt like I knew this plant a little bit when I brought it into my collection. Like I think when you, as I said at the beginning of this video, although they do have individual and specific care needs, once you've kind of got the basics with Alocasia, you can kind of figure it out. Like you've got a very good starting point, and I put this one straight into the chunky semi-hydro that I was just talking about, and it's actually just growing in a plastic cup at the moment. And yeah, it's doing well. You can see just at the top there by the rhizome, it's got some roots coming out, and then what I can do is I can just fill it higher and higher and higher as the aerial roots start to develop, and then yeah, I'll probably pot this on within the next couple of months, I'd say. Like I can feel it is already starting to kind of push up against the side of the cup. But yeah, it's just a really sweet one. It's one that just really, really excites me. Like it was on my wish list, I think about 3 years ago, and then I didn't forget about it, but it was just, I don't know, I just wasn't seeing as much of it, and therefore I wasn't thinking about it quite so much. And when I saw it in Malvern, I was like, oh my God, it wasn't expensive either, if I remember correctly. I saw it in Malvern, it was a pretty good price, and I was like, you know what, I wanted that plant ages ago, why not get it? And yeah, it's just so lovely when you bring a new plant into your collection and you do feel really excited by it. So yeah, I'm always looking at this one for updates. Annoyingly, it's not giving me as many as I would like at the moment. But yeah, I think I just need some patience because it's so lovely. And it has been a pleasure to grow so far. Oh, and this next one is such a special alocasia. I absolutely adore this one. It is the Alocasia Sinuata. And it's not the easiest one in the world to show you at the moment because I did do, oh, this is another one that I did a really big chop on. I don't think I had pests, but I can't remember actually what was going on with it. It could have been root related. I'm so incredibly wary with alocasia when things start to go wrong or potentially look like they might be starting to go wrong with the roots, because I've said it before, as soon as the rot spreads to the rhizome, which is basically like the little underground root system, I can kind of show you on this plant actually, the bit at the base just here, if that starts to rot, then essentially there is nothing you can do, like you will lose the plant. So if you're ever in any doubt about root rot or anything like that, get your alocasias out of their substrate immediately and check the roots and rehab if need be. I very sadly lost an alocasia. Oh, I feel so sad about it. I very sadly lost an alocasia literally last week because I wasn't quick enough to catch the what turned into rhizome rot. And if you watch my other videos, it was the beautiful kind of mystery alocasia that I got at Wisley. Some people said they thought it was a bismuth silver. That's the closest I can find, but I do still think it was probably a hybrid. And I was absolutely gutted about it. As soon as I noticed there was anything going wrong, I got it straight out of the substrate. I checked the roots, and although some of the bottom roots looked fine and healthy, the rot had spread all to the rhizome and it was just like mush. And yeah, I very sadly just had to throw that plant in the bin, and it broke my heart because it's one that I was really excited about. So yeah, that was a tangent, but basically I'm pretty sure that's why I originally chopped this plant up. I did find some corms when I chopped it up, and I put them in a prop box, and I've just recently potted them all up together. So I've got lots of different sections in there. Also got a new little leaf coming just there, which is exciting. And I'm hoping now I'm going to be able to grow it big and full, because the Sinuata again, it was an alocasia that I wanted for a really long time, and I actually found this one at another plant swap in London last year. And it's very special for lots of reasons, but one of the main reasons is that this is actually an alocasia that I think is almost extinct in its natural habitat, which is so, so sad. And it's purely kind of cultivated in a home environment now. And I know that is the case with a lot of tropical plants, but it really does just kind of like make you feel an element of responsibility. And I don't know, I feel like I just care for this plant more, which I know I should care for all of my plants the same amount, but I feel like this is just one that I look out for a little bit more because it means more if I lose the plant, if that makes sense. But yeah, its foliage is just amazing. It's so waxy and shiny. And this one, it looks a little bit dusty because I had some diatomaceous earth on it recently, but you can see how dark it gets when it actually fully hardens off and matures. And again, this one is one that is capable of growing absolutely huge. Like if you look at pictures of this one when it's big and mature, it's amazing. And I really hope that now mine's back on track, it will get to that stage as well. But for now, it's just quite a little baby, lots of sections of little babies. But it's one I'm really enjoying growing, and yeah, as I say, feel very fortunate and lucky to own. Oh, and then this is quite exciting because unless you're over on my Patreon, you will not have seen this plant in my collection before. I only got it last week, and it's a wish list alocasia. It's one that I've wanted for such a long time. I've mentioned it in videos multiple times over the years, and it feels a little bit surreal to actually finally own it. But it is the Alocasia Platinum. And just look at those leaves. Aren't they just beautiful? It's got, again, that like what I said I loved about the Alocasia Mellow, it's got this beautiful silvery blue leaves, but then that striking dark veination that is just, I don't know, it's just out of this world. I know I said about the green shield, how it looks a little bit alien-y. This definitely has the same vibes. It's very otherworldly, like something that I kind of feel like you might see pop up in something like Avatar. I think as well because I live in the UK and everything here is very kind of like bog standard, like it's a bush, it's a tree, you don't get, I mean, that's a lie actually, you do get some beautiful variety in outdoor plants, but the sort of thing that you just walk along and see every day is not like this. Like, I don't know, this, I find this absolutely crazy, and I find it amazing that something like this even exists. Like, look at that new leaf. How gorgeous is that? So yeah, as I say, it's very early days for this plant, and you might be surprised that this one is so high on my list compared to like some others that I've had in my collection for ages. But you know when you get a plant and it just ticks all the boxes that you thought it would, and it makes you really, really happy. That, like, I have not stopped staring at this plant for the last 7 days, and I feel so lucky to have it. And yeah, I'm just on a mission now to grow this one as big and beautiful as possible, because again, this one can get so ginormous and it can size up so quickly, and apparently it's super quick to grow as well, which is very exciting. It did arrive already with that leaf starting to push out, which, as you can see, has now completely unfurled. And then again, it's got this little bit at the bottom here, which is a whole other plant. Which again, I could, if I wanted to divide, I could get 2 of them going. But already I did something that I would never usually do so early, and I did actually transition this one out of soil and into pon, or the pon equivalent, the chunky semi-hydro mix that Soil Ninja do, but again, just looks like that. I did transition it much sooner than I would typically do for plants that I bring into my collection, because I often say if you've got a new plant, especially like quite a sensitive one like an Alocasia or a Calathea or something like that, unless it absolutely needs it, just give it a bit of time to settle in and then do your transitioning, because you don't want to send the plant into shock. But it was literally like 3 days after I'd lost my lovely mystery Alocasia that I got at Wisley, and I was so sad about that, and I kind of was left wishing that I'd done things sooner with that plant. So when I got this one, I was like, you know what, it might be a risk, but I feel like it's a risk I've got to take. I've got to get in there and look at the roots. And once I'd done that, I was like, I may as well put it into semi-hydro. And it does seem like quite a hardy one, because it hasn't given me any grief at all. Obviously, it's been through shipping, it's been through transition, it's now in my cabinet. Again, I know I do say you should try and isolate your plants when you first get them. I got this from Go Tropicals. I've never had any issues with pests from them. I know that's not like a reliable thing to, I don't know, you can't rely on that always. But I don't really have anywhere else that I feel like I could isolate this plant right now and the plant could still be happy. So I'm just very carefully monitoring it. And yeah, it's early days, but so far no issues, and I'm just over the moon to own it. So yeah, I'll keep you updated with it. The other thing I really love about it is that the newer growth, its stems come in really pinky, and then they turn to not like, it's not black, but it's very dark and dramatic. It's just a very sleek and elegant looking plant, if you know what I mean. But yeah, I'll keep you updated. And then one that is a firm favourite in my collection, and not just of my Alocasias, but just in my whole plant collection, is my Alocasia Mitchellitana. I just adore this one. I've said it so many times before, but the first time I saw this plant, I swear to God, I thought it was a cartoon plant. Like I don't know. I thought that maybe someone had like drawn a picture or like made a digital image of a plant, because it just doesn't look real. Like it does look so two-dimensional, and it just doesn't look like something that should exist, if that makes any sense at all. But it's one, I think I've had this plant for maybe 2 years now, if that even. I got this one, I do believe, when I went to, oh damn it, I cannot for the life of me remember the name of that, Hutch Houseplants. I think I got it from Hutch Houseplants. I did a Houseplant Tour UK episode on it, and I think that was about 2 years ago now. And it was gorgeous when I first got it, but it had about 5 or 6 plants potted in with the mother plant. And I was thinking at the time, because I had it in soil, I was like, my God, this plant is drying out so quickly. I was literally, and this is not an exaggeration, I was watering the plant like every day, every other day, and it was bone dry when I went back to it. And when I got it out of the pot and I divided all the babies, I was like, my God, no wonder, because it was all root. And yeah, I divided the smaller plants, I propagated them, I've taken some to plant swaps, I've given some to friends. They are, I mean, they're great presents. They're just such beautiful plants. And so yeah, I've got a couple growing very happily actually still in 2 of my friends' collections. But yeah, this one, I chopped this one almost completely back about 3 months ago, just because it had spider mites, and it's grown back already so quickly and is doing really, really well again. I have got it like facing the window, and so for that reason it is all very much facing one direction. If I wanted it to be more 360, I could rotate it, but to be completely honest, it doesn't really bother me like this, and it is just practical having it facing the light. So maybe I should spin it, but I'm not. It is also giving me 2 new leaves, which is really, really exciting. And this lovely little copper thing that you can see holding it up is from a company called Cotton Lily that I will put just there so that you can see. And it was very kindly sent to me recently, and I just absolutely love it. Genuinely, I want to get more of them to hold some of my other Alocasias up, because Alocasias can be a little bit wild, like they chase the light very quickly, and particularly ones like this one, actually, the ones with the long stems, they can get quite floppy and like, I don't know, they can just be quite difficult to tame, so it's quite nice having something like that to just keep them upright and where you want them. But yeah, as I say, I adore this one. It will always be one of my favourites. But yeah, hence why it is so high up the list. And then coming into the top 3, so these are my 3 favourite Alocasias now. This next one, so it was actually very close between the Mitchellitana and the one I'm going to show you next, which is one that I've banged on about on my channel so much over the years. But this is my variegated, oh, going off in all directions, variegated Alocasia Frydek, and this one is just stunning. Like very, very similar form-wise to the Mitchellitana that I just showed you. But yeah, it's just got the most beautiful variegation. And this is one that would very much benefit from a little like tie up, because as you can see, its foliage is kind of going out in all directions at the moment. And this leaf here as well, this is its oldest leaf, and this one, as you can see, is starting to turn and getting ready to die back. And that does just happen with this plant. Like, I have noticed it is one that is much more prone to cycling than some of my others, but I think particularly because it has got such a high balance of variegation, these white bits here don't contain any chlorophyll at all, so it is essentially a lot more work for the plant to keep them going. So when I get ones with a slightly higher balance of green like this, I'm actually quite happy. And you know what? Look at that. And like, it's got so many shades in there. And I think if I had to choose, I would prefer that to the almost completely ghost growth. But this is one that's actually been a little bit of a struggle plant for me over the years. I got this one at Dean's Garden Centre, which again, I do believe I made a Houseplant Tour UK episode on. I got this one at Dean's Garden Centre either at the beginning of last year or the end of the year before. I have a feeling it was the end of the year before. And I just very much assumed that it was going to have very similar care needs to the Mitchellitana, and so I treated it the exact same way. And oh my God, I just went through, like, I went through the one leaf club with this plant so much. Like, it was giving me a leaf and then the old one would die back, and I was like, why? And then it completely reverted at one point. It gave me a completely green leaf, and I was like, oh my goodness, I cannot believe that my beautiful plant now has no variegation on it. And having never grown this plant before, I didn't know about like stable variegation. I didn't know whether or not it was capable of giving me variegation after giving me a green leaf, but it did. So if yours does revert, don't throw it away or don't pass it on to another home. Bear with it, because the variegation could absolutely come back, which is something I really didn't expect. But yeah, now that I found a good routine with this plant and I figured out what it likes, it's actually an incredibly low maintenance plant. And I think I was probably overcomplicating things for myself a little bit initially. I've made a full like breakdown talking about everything I do for this plant to keep it happy, so I will link that in the description box below. But yeah, it's just one of my most visually stunning plants, and one that I just feel so incredibly proud of. I think sometimes when you've been through a real battle with a plant and you've really had to kind of fight to get to know it and like figure out what it likes, then it's such a rewarding thing when you do figure it out that yeah, then it becomes kind of a firm favourite. And I do still struggle with this plant from time to time. Like, it's not all plain sailing. It does keep me on my toes, but I feel like I'm much more equipped to deal with things when they go wrong nowadays, if that makes sense. But yeah, it's very much out of the one leaf club. It's sized up a huge amount as well, because it was tiny when I first got it. It's giving me beautiful, beautiful growth now. So yeah, it's one that I highly recommend. It's a great one. And before I show you my last two, my favorite two, I am just gonna change my camera battery because it is about to die. Bear with me. Okay, right, are we ready? I might need to stand back a little bit for this one because in second place, oh my God, she's heavy. In second place is one of my most beautiful but ginormous Alocasias. This is my huge Alocasia Jacqueline, and honestly, if I stand her upright, because she is leaning quite a bit, she's taller than me sitting down. But this one I was given as a birthday present actually a couple of years ago by some of my friends in the plant community. And it's a plant that, I don't think of a way that I can actually like sit in shot and talk about her and show you at the same time. But it's a plant that I'd wanted for such a long time. And to be honest, it's been, for me, it has been so easy. Like, I hate saying that because I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna jinx it. But I've encountered very few issues with this plant. The one thing, like if anything that has kind of kept me on my toes a little bit is spider mites, and this is one that is very well known for being affected by spider mites, but I've just made it like part of my plant care routine that when I water this plant I take her through to the shower and just give her a spritz down. And for that reason, although from time to time I might have a little issue here or there, it hasn't got out of hand, and she has just remains looking so beautiful and happy and healthy. And actually, if you watched my episode of BBC Gardener's World, I showed this plant in that video, and that was filmed like, I think like almost a year and a half ago now, and she was in my cabinet. This plant wouldn't even fit in half of my cabinet now, so it's amazing how quickly she sized up. But I was showing her then, and I think she was about that big at that point. So yeah, like just seeing her progress and seeing how far she's come in such a short amount of time is really incredible to me. It's probably one of my hardiest Alocasias as well. Like this is one that, although absolutely loves higher levels of humidity, I haven't found to be as sensitive as some of my others when it doesn't get the humidity that they do. For example, like this one has happily just grown in like 40-50% just kind of standard room humidity many times without a humidifier running, and it's been fine. But yeah, I think the real trick to kind of getting this one to massively size up for me has been light, and that's the same with a lot of my Alocasias, a lot of my plants to be honest. But when this one hasn't been right in a window, it has been under grow lights. I've made sure to kind of give it very long hours of light, and currently, oh my goodness, currently the light is slightly impacted because we're having building work done and there's a big wrap on the scaffolds, which is very annoying. But if that wasn't there, currently she's in a southeast facing window, I think. And yeah, it's just getting bigger and bigger and bigger with every leaf. And this leaf here is just kind of unfurling at the moment. I would have thought it would probably be unfurled in the next couple of days. And the thing I really like about this one is that although when its leaves unfurl, they are more or less the size they're going to be, there's a little bit, like, I don't know, there's a little bit of, I don't know, the leaf that springs to mind is like anthurium leaves. They come in teeny and then they grow. It will unfurl, but then it will still size up a little bit. So it's not like a proper gauge of how big the leaf will be. Because I remember when this one started unfurling, and like, I don't know if you can gauge like how big this leaf actually is, but like it's longer than my forearm. But when this one started unfurling, I looked at it and I was like, oh, that's going to be quite big. And then it unfurled and it just kept growing and growing and growing. And I was like, oh my goodness, it's insane. So yeah, I've no idea how big this one can get actually. Although I think mine's probably up there with one of the biggest I've seen in a home environment at the moment. So I feel very proud of that. And yeah, it's just one that I constantly come back to and adore, and just, again, I'm so grateful to own and grow and excited to see what she does next. So yeah, that is why this one is so high up. But then finally, I was really torn between that one being my top. In fact, like my top three was just really difficult. In fact, all of this was really difficult, and this is why I don't rank my plants more often, because I'm so indecisive. But my current favourite alocasia I have based on the one that is captivating me and grabbing me the most at the moment and exciting me the most. And again, it's another one I have shown you not that much of, but I've shown you it in a couple of videos. And it is my Alocasia Heterophil, also known as the Alocasia Dragon's Breath. And this is another one that I wanted for such a long time. Like, I ogled over pictures of this plant online. I had it on my wish lists. It's so weird, I know. I've got a Pinterest board where I like pin pictures of plants that I really want. And this one was all over my Pinterest board. And again, this is another one that I picked up when I went to Malvern, the RHS Festival in Malvern. I got this on the Grow Tropical stand, and it's just got everything that I feel like I've said I've loved about all of the other alocasias. It kind of encapsulates it in one plant. It's got the beautiful kind of glossy, bluey silver. It's got the length of the leaves and those amazing dramatic veins. Like, there's a lot of similarities colour-wise between this, if I hold them together, and the Platinum. But yeah, this for me just at the moment absolutely trumps it. Like, I just think it's the most amazing plant. And I can tell that this leaf here, this is one of the leaves, one of the kind of original leaves that I had when I got it. This one is starting to die back, and that is very normal as alocasia sizes up. And actually this one is sizing up amazingly quickly. If you look at that, and then you look at every leaf that's followed, you can see the jump in size is so significant. So although it hasn't given me, this is the first leaf it gave me in my care, although it hasn't given me another one just yet, I can tell it is starting to get ready to, and I really hope that its next leaf is even bigger and even more amazing than this. Because again, these ones can get ginormous, and they're just insanely beautiful, but yeah, I'm growing this one in a semi-hydro, chunky semi-hydro mix. It's just in a jar at the moment. I can monitor its roots really well, and as you can see, it's got amazingly healthy roots. And in fact, you know what? This one's probably almost ready to be transitioned up a pot size. I'll give it a little bit longer, but it is getting very rooty in that. So yeah, that will be something on my to-do list at some point soon. But yeah, it's just one, I grow it in my cabinet, and it's one that I'm constantly moving it because its leaves kind of chase the light, and I'm like, no, I want to look at your leaves. So I'm like pulling its leaves forward so that I can see it from like sitting on the sofa. It's just my pride and joy right now. So yeah, it's currently my #1 favorite alocasia. And there's others that didn't even make the list. I've got others in my collection as well that I didn't put into my top 10 that are like, I do love. I've been so good at having a bit of a cleanse of my collection and a declutter, and I feel like pretty much everything I've got now I truly do love. I've got a couple of things I'm still a little bit iffy on, but the majority of things are like just great plants in my eyes. So yeah, I've also got an extensive wish list of alocasias. So if you would like to see my wish list, hear my wish list at some point, then let me know in the comments below. I will happily make that video because I love chatting about the plants that I want. Equally, let me know in the comments down below what some of your favourite alocasias are, or like I mean, by all means feel free to do a top 10, but like what would your top 5 be? Yeah, let me know. But I really hope you enjoyed this video. I had a lot of fun making it. And if you did enjoy this video, please make sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, have a lovely day, and I will see you in the next video.
Stay sexy, plant lovers.